don't. All right, good evening and welcome back to our regular and special joint meeting of the City Council. I'd like to begin with a report out from our closed session by our City Attorney.
Item 1A was discussed with no reportable action taken. Item 1B is existing litigation, Home versus City of Santa Monica. On August 31st, 2016, a city car collided with Mr. Holmes' bicycle. The collision resulted in alleged damage to Mr. Holmes' bicycle and injuries. The city denies and disputes the claims. Following negotiations with opposing counsel, the city attorney's office is recommending settlement in the amount of $22,500.
Move settlement.
Second.
Can we have is this a roll call vote?
Yes.
Money, money.
Councilmember Hara?
Yes.
Councilmember Winter?
Yes.
Councilmember McKeown?
Yes.
Councilmember Himmelrich?
Yes.
Councilmember Morena?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem O'Day.
Yes.
Item 1C is an amicus brief. The city has been asked to file an amicus brief supporting the state of California's challenge to a 2018 decision by the United States Environmental Protection Agency to withdraw greenhouse gas emission and fuel economy standards for light-duty vehicles. The brief argues that rolling back these standards undermines local efforts to control greenhouse gases and that the EPA failed to articulate a reasoned basis for its determination as required by law.
I move we join in the amicus brief.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Am opposed? None. That carries unanimously.
Items 1D, 1E, and 1F were discussed with no reportable action taken. And that concludes the closed session report.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to move on with some agenda management. Council, first of all, we have a request by staff to pull item 3I from the consent calendar. So could I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And objections? None. That carries unanimously. Secondly, it's our practice to take appointments to our boards and commissions when we have a full council tonight. We do not have a full council, so I'd like to entertain a motion to continue those appointments.
I move we continue the boards and commissions appointments.
I second.
And for clarity, that's items 13A through 13D. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So that carries unanimously.
Okay, so, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Next we have item 2A, which is a proclamation, Black History Month.
Thank you. We have the proclamation, accepting the proclamation tonight will be Erica Leslie from Parent Connection Group, if you could come up to the podium. Robbie Jones from Black Santa Monica and Committee for Racial Justice. Laverne Ross from the Juneteenth Celebration Committee, Inc. Nice to see you all again. Seal this. Well, thank you for coming up tonight. I'd like to read the proclamation for you and then offer you the opportunity to say some words. Let me open up. Whereas during the Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our economic, cultural, and spiritual and political development. Whereas Black History Month affords us the opportunity to become more knowledgeable about African American heritage, as well as to honor and celebrate the courage, sacrifice, and the many accomplishments of African Americans who have contributed so much to the richness and struggle for equality for all in our nation. And whereas Santa Monica's African American population overcame bias to become judges, teachers, architects, business owners, elected officials, role models, and more beginning in the early 1900s, when the first black-owned businesses established in 1907 a shoe shine shop. And whereas Douglas Aircraft during World War II opened positions for women and African Americans in order to meet production goals for aircraft during the war, resulting in an 8-fold increase in Santa Monica's African American population from before the war. And whereas today in Santa Monica, African Americans are publicly honored at the Inkwell Monument at the beach, and with the annual Juneteenth celebration that has been taking place for over 26 years, and whereas the observance of Black History Month calls our nation's attention to the continued need to battle racism and to build a society that lives up to its democratic ideals, now therefore, I, Gleam Davis, Mayor of the City of Santa Monica, on behalf of the members of all our City Council, do hereby proclaim this month of February as Black History Month in the City of Santa Monica, and urge all citizens to celebrate our diverse heritage and culture and continue our efforts to create a world that is more just, peaceful, and prosperous for all. Thank you. Want a photo?
I'm by myself.
Okay, then she can.
Yeah, she can.
Sorry.
Oh, but we might have to all scoot over.
Oh, whoops.
How about that?
I wanted to get in the light and make it call.
Right, here, you go on this side. I'm
Oh, good,
sliding.
okay. You are?
Barely.
Thank you. Do you guys have a few minutes? It's okay. Take some more photos.
So she says, why are you calling me? I thought you just called me 3 times in 10 minutes. She goes, there's something wrong with my phone.
We want to hear Robbie say something.
Wait, I don't know how sensitive this thing is. Can I be heard? Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to say thank you to Robbie and Laverne for help lay the groundwork for the history here in Santa Monica and keeping it alive for the number of years and the work that you've done, the endless hours you put through, the advocacy that you've done for the community, to lay the groundwork for a parent connection group to continue on and carry the torch. I can't say enough about the endless hours that you guys have done. Thank you so much. Robbie.
First of all, I would like to thank the council and Mayor Glenn. Thank you. I'll thank all of you very much for recognizing and honoring the organizations for the Black History Month and recognizing everything that we have done. We try our best to do for the community and bring attention to those who may or may not be aware. And congratulations to my fellow honorees. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for this. It's an honor. Obviously, I mean, it's amazing. Thank you, Laverne and Erica, Carla, everybody. I would like to ask permission to say a poem. And the reason I want to do this poem, I love Santa Monica, loved raising my kids here, got married here, grew up here. And, you know, it was a little bittersweet. I guess y'all expecting to hear that from me. But I love growing up here, but I always felt like I was having to apologize for being Black. So with your permission, I want to read this poem that kind of brought me from that. And so this is by Jewel Diamond Taylor, and it's called I'm Not Giving My Black Back. I'm not giving my Black back. I'm not giving my Black back. I'm not giving up my greens or my grits or my saying girl and putting my hands on my hips, you see? Life for me ain't been no crystal stair, and I'm not giving up Rosa Parks, Fannie Lou Hamer, Mary McLeod Bethune, Sojourner Truth, Madam C.J. Walker, Toni Morrison, or Maya Angelou. 'Cause you see, I am a phenomenal woman, and I'm not giving my Black back. I'm not giving up my crown, my waves, my braids, my curls, my kinks, my scarves, or Muslim garb. I'm not giving up sitting on Granny's kitchen, eating peach cobbler or sweet potato pie and hearing her ask me, "Child, how you doing, baby?" I'm not giving up going to You Buy, We Fry on Fridays or barbecue on Saturday, playing bid whist and slamming those dominoes. I'm not giving back Harriet Tubman, Soul Train, Coal Train, or the midnight train to Georgia. Now you can meet me at the function at the junction, but I still won't give up B.B. King, The Whispers, Fancy Miss Nancy, Lena Horne, the Philadelphia Sound, Motown, or the Temptations. 'Cause you see, it's the way we do the things we do. We like building the pyramids that still stand, made by our forefathers' hands, where the diamonds, oil, silver, gold are buried in our rich and dark land. I'm not giving my Black back. I'm not being happy. I am being happy with my wide hips, my wide nose, rich melanin in my skin. I love putting on lotion on my ashy arms and legs. Oh, I am being happy, being nappy, and being in the skin that I'm in. I won't deny or forget my ancestors who lay in the wet grave at the bottom of the sea in the Middle Passage from the slave trade. And I won't give up our youth of today who still need a way made. I won't give back Miles, even though he didn't smile. I won't give back Marvin Gaye, Richard Pryor, Phyllis Hyman, Billie Holiday, or Billy Eckstine, Jackie Robinson, or Jackie Wilson. I won't give back the Electric Slide, Alvin Haley, Bojangles, or Debbie Allen. You think I'd give up reading my Ebony, Jet, Essence, Emerge, and Black Enterprise, Heart and Soul, or Upscale magazine? For we are a colorful people. Oh, I'm sorry. We are darker than blue. We are honey, cinnamon, mahogany, and chocolate. The mothers of the church dressed in white, the color purple, the lady who sings the blues. And we are Al Green with love and happiness. Oh no, I'm not giving my Black back. And I'm not giving Black back Maxine Waters, Martin, Medgar, Malcolm, Mandela, Marley, Marcus, Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, or the Million Man March. No, Santa Monica, I'm not giving my Black back, and I'm glad y'all love me. Thank you.
All right.
In due respect of time, just one point that I would like to mention. We're speaking of Black history. One of my supporters tonight is definitely someone who has contributed to Black history as a first. I would like Mrs. Barbara Walden to stand. Almost 50 years ago, she Mrs. Walden created a makeup for blacks that was never in the stores. And eventually she went into the Broadway, the only black before the fashion fairs and the various kind. Mrs. Walden, we want to thank you for your history making almost 50 years ago. I wanted to introduce the council to Mrs. Barbara Walden, the world-renowned Barbara Walden's Cosmetic. You can look her up on your what is the website? The website is Barbara Walden's Cosmetic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was a treat. Thank you. I want to point out, too, that our Juneteenth celebration this year will be on Saturday, June 15th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Thank you. Oh, Councilmember Haar.
I just wanted to say thank you so very much for paving the way for all of us. It is wonderful to see you here, and I am deeply honored to be here, that I'm being part of this celebration with you. And Robbie, I know you're not giving it up, but I hope you're sharing it.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. So before we continue now, I'd like to ask the council if anyone has a brief report on travel. Councilmember Winter.
Yeah, last weekend I attended the Independent Cities Association Winter Conference on Public Safety in Santa Barbara. We had some fascinating and terrifying, at the same time, presentations from the LA County Fire Chief about the Woolsey Fire, and also on the mudslides a year ago in that area. A lot of interesting information about what we are already doing and what we can do better to prepare ourselves for emergencies and to communicate to the public. We had a interesting moment of Kismet Saturday morning. We started off at 8 a.m. and we're talking about communication with the public about emergency responses. And if you recall, it was raining very heavily last Saturday, and about 100 people in the room, and one after another, all of our phones lit up with emergency alerts notifying us of flash flood warnings in Santa Barbara area. So something was working right at that particular time, and we had to wait 5 minutes for everybody's phone to finish making a horrendous beeping noise. And so that's my report.
Very good. Thank you. Will the clerk call the consent calendar?
The consent calendar. All items will be considered and approved in one motion unless removed by a council member for discussion, and you have no request to speak.
Okay. We have a request from Councilmember Moreno.
I'd like to pull item 3A and recuse myself.
Okay. Any other council members wish to pull any items from the consent calendar? Can we have a motion?
I'll move the remainder of the consent calendar, excluding item 3A.
And 3I, which we pulled.
3I was already pulled, correct.
Yes. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by McEwen and a second by Winter. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Hara?
Aye.
Councilmember Winter?
Yes.
Councilmember McCune?
Yes.
Councilmember Himmerich?
Yes.
Councilmember Moreno?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Day?
Yes. Thank you. Can we take item 3A? We'll wait for Councilmember Moreno to leave the room.
Using the handy shortcut.
Maybe not.
Okay, so we have item 3A before us.
So 3A is the Twilight Concert Series 2018 season recap and proposed adjustments for the 2019 season.
Council members?
I move 3A.
Second.
Okay, motion by Himmelrich, seconded by Winterer. Can we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Himmerich?
Yes.
Councilmember McCune?
Yes.
Councilmember Winter?
Yes.
Councilmember Hara?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem O'Day?
Yes, that motion carries unanimously. Can we have Councilmember Moreno back? And clerk, can we call item 7A?
Yes. Next we have item 7A, which is the second reading and adoption of an ordinance adding section 9.56.320 of the Santa Monica Municipal Code designating the 11th Street Historic District.
Move adoption.
Second.
Motion by McEwen, second by Himmelrich. Do we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Moreno?
Yes.
Councilmember Himmerich?
Yes.
Councilmember McKeown?
Yes.
Councilmember Winter?
Yes.
Councilmember Hara?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem O'Day.
Yes. That motion carries unanimously.
Next, we have item 7B, introduction and first reading of an ordinance to amend the definition of zero-emission vehicles in Santa Monica Municipal Code 3.16.120C1 to include designation clean air decals, and you have no request to speak.
But before we go, do those of us who have these vehicles, or do we have a conflict in this, or we,
So council members are responsible for identifying, determining their own financial conflicts. It is true that financial conflicts can arise when you have a personal or family financial benefit that exceeds $250 on a specific item. And so to the extent you think that the benefit of this item could potentially exceed $250, I would recommend that you step down. If we have if that is going to cause us to lose a quorum.
Councilmember Winter is in the queue.
Isn't there the exception for the public good that applies in situations like this?
There is an exception that applies if greater than 25% of the population would be impacted.
Ooh, that might not be the case.
I unfortunately have 2 such cars, so I guess I'm out here.
I would ask too, though, you have a parking pass from the city already.
On one, but not the other. I have 2 cars with these stickers.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Then I think Councilmember Himmerich will call you back when we're done with this one, and we'll ask for a staff report.
In the Office of Sustainability and the Environment, and I'm here this evening to discuss our proposed changes to the free metered parking policy for vehicles displaying the clean air vehicle decals. And so just to start off with some context, so the city has been installing electric vehicle charging stations since the 90s and has been really committed to supporting EV adoption throughout the city. And beginning in 2002, the city started allowing vehicles displaying these clean air vehicle decals issued by the state to park at parking meters for free in Santa Monica as a way to really encourage and reward those making the choice to drive cleaner vehicles. And then in 2017, Council, of course, adopted the EV Action Plan, which laid out a framework to expand charging throughout the city and included a goal of getting to 15% EV adoption by 2025. We're currently at 3.7%, which is up from 2% in 2016. And this also kind of lies within this overarching statewide goal of getting to 5 million zero emission vehicles on the road by 2030. And just to review the terminology I'll be using, so the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, as I'm sure many of you know, refer to the vehicles with internal combustion engine as well as a battery. And then the BEV or battery electric vehicles are for fully electric vehicles running on 100% electricity, and so likely now 100% renewable electricity, which is exciting if they're participating in the Clean Power Alliance. So now for some background on the Clean Air Vehicle Decal Program. So this program was adopted by the state legislature in 2004 to promote clean vehicles by allowing single occupancy use of the HOV or the carpool lanes. So this was really developed to motivate consumers to select clean vehicles, to build demand over time and eventually drive down the cost of this technology to make EVs more accessible to more people. And this program is administered by the State Department of Motor Vehicles, and it's been extended through September 2025. So that means that as of right now, after September 25, the full Clean Air Vehicle Decal Program would sunset, revoking the privileges of the HOV lane access, as well as free parking in Santa Monica as the current code is written. And so new colors are issued each year as the technology improves and older decals are phased out. And this is really to ensure that the flow of traffic in the HOV lane stays faster than the rest of the lanes as more electric vehicles increase on the road. And so as of January 1st of this year, the white and green decals expired, which brings us to why we're here today. Because currently our code is tied to the state program, the early adopters of the cleaner vehicles with white and green decals are now exempt from the free parking privilege within the city. And this is a breakdown of the different colors. I know it can get a little confusing. The purple are the newest, which were issued to fully electric vehicles, fuel cell, and certain plug-in hybrids. And the red began getting issued to the same vehicles last year, and they were also given to those who received decals for white or green January 1st, 2017 or later. And then the white were only issued to fully electric, and the green were issued to plug-in hybrids. So that's just to give some context. So the red and purple are the current and valid ones right now, and the white or green are the expired at the moment. And then this slide just gives an overview of similar programs that are available throughout the state. So we are one of a small handful of cities offering parking privileges for clean air vehicles. So as I mentioned, right now we allow current and valid, so the red and purple decals, as well as neighborhood electric vehicles to park for free at meters. San Jose actually has its own clean air permit program, specifically for locally issued or purchased vehicles, and that includes all of the decal colors listed. And then Sacramento allows 100% electric vehicles to have discounted parking rates in certain garages, and then Hermosa Beach also allows free parking for the current and valid decals at on-street meters downtown. And so this is just to give the current code language. So as you can see within section 3.16 of the municipal code, it exempts vehicle operators with current and valid, so the red and purple decals, as well as zero emission vehicle decals from paying at parking meters. It's a bit confusing right now because the zero emission vehicle decals actually refers to neighborhood electric vehicle decals, so like the GEMs, the kind of little golf cart vehicles that you see on the road. And so our recommendation is to expand the definition of zero emission vehicle decals to include the expired white decals which were issued to the fully electric vehicles, in addition to the neighborhood electric and current red and purple decals. And this topic was discussed with our electric vehicle subcommittee, which is a committee made up of residents who drive electric vehicles, and it's a subcommittee of our task force on the environment, and they felt it was best to extend this privilege to the white decal holders because someone who bought a fully electric vehicle in 2016 it's just as clean as one issued in 2018 or 19. And so I'll show exactly what this looks like because I know it can be hard to follow. But so what we're recommending is that we amend this subsection for the parking meter payment exemption to still keep the current and valid decals in the same spot, to replace the zero emission vehicle decal with neighborhood electric, since that's what it's actually referring to add the white, since they're fully electric, and then red and purple to ensure that once those decals expire under the state program, they're still allowed to continue enjoying the same benefit as those who purchase vehicles later on. And we received a lot of community feedback and interest in this policy. I've been receiving many calls a day from electric vehicle drivers throughout the city who have been really grateful for the privilege and also really would like it to continue. We've also heard a lot from WaveCar users. So WaveCar, for those who don't know, is the electric car share service within the city. And I heard from residents who said, this has enabled me to go car free, and having free metered parking for those white decal cars is really crucial to their business model. I've also heard from residents who said that they purchased EVs specifically because of the parking privilege. I know that's a small subset, but also just in general, it's a fairly simple mechanism to encourage and reward clean vehicle drivers. But I do want to mention the potential parking meter revenue impacts. So there has been, we saw a 7% growth in electric vehicles registered throughout the city just last year, and the total number of vehicles has doubled since 2016. So increasing, extending this privilege obviously has parking meter revenue impacts. Unfortunately, I couldn't provide a very specific estimate because there's a lot of factors that influence these revenue amounts, which you'll probably hear about later tonight. But so this includes changes in mobility options, like Lyft and Uber, dockless mobility services, and also, if we use the percentage of electric vehicles within Santa Monica as a proxy for the revenue, it's leaving out all of those vehicles that are not Santa Monica registered vehicles that park at our parking meters. And this is just to show an overview of the statewide trends. So the battery electric vehicles are seeing the most significant growth right now. And you can see that the typical hybrids have really plummeted as the more electric have increased. So that's good news. And as of Q3 of last year, over 7% of all new vehicle registrations were either plug-in hybrid or a battery electric vehicle. So that's just to show that we do expect this trend to increase. And so as the market share of EVs increases, that will presumably have an impact on the parking meter revenue. And these are some alternatives to the staff recommendation presented today. So the first alternative is to maintain the current policy. So this would allow the green and white decals to sunset, but we still recommend replacing the zero emission vehicle decal language with the neighborhood electric vehicle decals, since that's what it's specifically referring to. And just to consider, this would still exclude the early adopters who made the choice to purchase cleaner vehicles earlier, though it would have no parking meter revenue impacts. And the second alternative is to also include the green decals, so those issued to plug-in hybrids. And one thing to consider is there are definitely commuters or residents who drive pretty short commutes or drive short distances within the city, in which they would be driving in primarily the electric mode, which is just to say that their carbon footprint may be on par with someone with a fully electric vehicle. So that's just something to keep in mind. Also, the current red and purple decals include certain plug-in hybrids within the eligibility. And parking meter revenues would decline the most under this option, since it would extend to the greatest number of vehicles. And this is a summary of the staff recommendation. So just to recap, that would be the current red, purple, and then also extending it to expired white. And then I've estimated that about 2.6% of all vehicles registered in Santa Monica fall into one of those three color categories, which is just shy of 2,000 vehicles. Then alternative one is to just let the policy sunset, and then alternative two is to include all of the decals. So, thank you.
Thank you. We have a question for you from Councilmember McEwen.
Sure.
Ms. Vito, I have a question about the rainbow of decals you showed us.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask this for the benefit of people watching at home. I think it's covered in the written staff report before us, but my car is older. In fact, this year my car becomes old enough to vote. And it has a decal, but you didn't show the yellow decals. So
Yes.
what's the status of the yellow decals?
Those are still expired. They've been expired for quite a while. They were issued to the earliest hybrid vehicles, and so just because the technology has advanced so much since then, they're no longer.
And so the thinking there is that those older hybrids operate on gasoline pretty much every day, whereas the plug-in hybrids, if you're just commuting a short distance, you may never use gasoline.
Correct.
Okay, just for people who have the yellow decals like I do. Thanks.
Very good. Any other questions for staff from the council? Councilmember Moreno?
Any idea how much carbon we are not emitting by promoting this program?
Ooh, that would be very difficult to calculate. I mean, the good news is, as I mentioned, if the vehicles are charging in Santa Monica, now they're running on fully fully renewable energy, but we have no way of knowing how many vehicles parking in Santa Monica are from Santa Monica versus outside. So we don't know their energy source.
All right.
Councilmember
Thank you.
Winter?
Well, just as, you know, a less precise way of answering Councilmember Miranda's question is my recollection that when you look at our portfolio of greenhouse gas emissions, that 68% of them come from the transportation sector.
64.
So anything we can do to move the dial on that is significant.
Yes, thank you.
Very good. No other questions for staff? Thank you for that report.
Thank you.
We can open up the public hearing. I don't have any requests to speak from the clerk. So, council, that means we close the public hearing and the item before us. Councilmember McEwen.
Well, for the reasons given in the staff report and in response to the question I asked, it's pretty clear that even a plug-in hybrid is operating in electric mode most of the time. It's only if it runs down its chart that it goes to gasoline operation. So I would recommend that we go with the option that includes the plug-in hybrids. I forget what the color of that would be.
Green. So
Green.
that would be alternative 2 on the chart that's on the screen.
So I will
now.
move alternative 2 of the staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak to the motion? In that case, I think we could have a roll call vote.
And who gave
Oh,
the second?
we have a
I'm
comment
sorry.
from our attorneys.
I'm sorry, Mayor. We just need a moment to modify the ordinance consistent with the direction that was just given. We
Okay.
just need 2 minutes.
And who gave the second? Was it Councilmember Moreno? Okay.
Sorry, I'll call that out.
Oh, it's okay.
Or if the council prefers to go to the next item, we can have this ready when the next item concludes.
Yes, sure. We can do that.
The budget. Well, why don't we, yeah, if you think if it's a quick one. Any
They're going to have to
announcements?
redo the budget now that we're taking away more revenue, so she needs some time to also.
Okay, so next we have 8A, which is a special joint meeting of the City Council, Housing.
I think we wanted to wait for it.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
thank you.
I'm ready to go.
Just to see how fast Eben can type.
Yeah, we can wait a moment. Like my decal, I'm yellow and mellow.
We haven't finished yet, Sue.
Councilmember Hemorrhage, we haven't.
And we're not on KCRW yet, so Councilmember McEwen doesn't have to worry about the dead air.
We are on city TV though, so if anybody has any announcements they'd like to share with the community about upcoming events in the city, that might be a good use of our time. Take a bit of the heat off of Mr. Shen. Let me just say that I know from personal and community experience that this is a meaningful incentive to people to go electric. When we first did this program, it was when hybrids were new in the community. I bought a very first generation Prius in 2001. And we very rapidly, in part because of the free parking we afforded to Priuses, we in Santa Monica became the Prius capital of the world. More Priuses sold here than anywhere else. So I think this is a very meaningful way to encourage people to go EV. And as Ms. Vito said, with the now transitioning to the Clean Power Alliance, those EVs are running on 100% renewable. So we're getting a double advantage with this program. I know there are some people who are upset their cars aren't covered, and I get that, but
And the upside is, though, of course, that we are moving aggressively and increasing the number of EV chargers throughout the city, which I got some correspondence about that in conjunction with this. So anybody's listening is concerned about that, they're coming.
We're going to need them. Okay. Our attorneys are ready?
We're ready. So unfortunately, we don't have the right plug for the monitor. We can just read this in. It's just one line. It is a change to section 1 of the ordinance in subsection C. We're adding subsection C3, which includes an additional exemption, which now reads a green CAV decal issued prior to 2019.
Okay. Okay, so is that considered part of the motion?
It was the motion,
It
but
was
now
the
we have the
motion.
language, yep.
Okay. Then, Clerk, I think we're ready for the roll call vote.
Okay. Councilmember Hara?
Yes.
Councilmember Winter?
Yes.
Councilmember McKeown?
Yes.
Councilmember Morena?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem O'Day.
Yes. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Could we have Councilmember Himmelrich come back if she's listening in the hallway? And Clerk, maybe we can go forward with item 8A and
Item
calling the special
8A
meeting.
is a special joint meeting of the City Council, Housing Authority, and Parking Authority. Let me announce that respective payments will be for the following meetings. For the Housing Authority, you receive $50 per meeting, and then for the Parking Authority, you receive $50 per meeting. So let me do a roll call. Commissioner Authority Member Morena.
Here.
Commissioner Authority Member Himmelrich.
Here.
Commissioner Authority Member McKeown.
Here.
Commissioner Authority Member Winter.
Here.
Commissioner Authority Member Hara.
Here.
And then Vice Chair, Chair Pro Tem O'Day.
Here.
Okay, so item 8A is the approval of the fiscal year 2018-19 mid-year budget, and you have one request to speak.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and council members, or Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Tonight I ask that you adopt various mid-year budget adjustments and a resolution establishing new classifications and salary rates. The mid-year budget review analyzes the budget status at the midpoint of the year and provides an opportunity to adjust revenue projections and also make any expenditure appropriations that we need to do at that point. These proposed adjustments were already included in the revenue and expenditure projections that were in our 10-year forecast that you saw a couple weeks ago. Among the general fund revisions are $4.3 million in net revenue increases. These include higher than anticipated one-time documentary transfer tax revenues. That's the property transfer tax revenues from the sale of some large properties. A delayed set of sales tax payments that are coming from the state as the state is grappling with the implementation of some new technology. Continuing strength in our hotel room rates and stays, and that is leading to a slight increase in our estimated hotel tax revenues. We're also including the mobility, public right-of-way fee, and citation revenue that was added earlier this year after we had adopted our budget, so we're adding it in now, as well as higher investment income coming from the increase in interest rates recently. On the expenditure side, our proposed changes on the general fund result in an increase of $800,000. These increases are all related to the revenues, and these are all revenue sharing, the expenditure piece of revenue sharing. So when we receive more revenue, we are increasing our expenditures so that we can make larger payments. One is our Measure Y and GSH sales tax revenues that we've paid in to the school district. This is again because of the delay. This money came in now, so we're making additional payments to the school district and also towards the city's affordable housing program as Measure YY and GS advised. And also we have some parking revenues. If you remember in August, we increased our parking rates, our off-street parking rates, and so those adjusted budgets are now included in our revenues, and so we have a revenue sharing agreement with the Macerich Company for the Santa Monica Place Mall, and that is also increasing our expenditures a little bit. And in other funds, we are just looking at one fund that is we're going to adjust revenues in the Big Blue Bus by $5.8 million. This is reflecting some gas tax adjustments that were made against the state gas tax and state transit assistance funding, as well as some final funding numbers from LA Metro that we now have. And also included in the report is a resolution that's establishing a number of new classifications and salary levels for permanent and as-needed positions. And these reflect structural changes and efficiencies that are occurring throughout the organization. And that concludes my report. The actions we'd like you to take this evening are related to mid-year budget revisions and to the salary resolution. We're here if you have any questions.
Thank you. We do have a question from Councilmember Winter.
I noticed in your report that Breeze bike share revenues are down $500,000. Is that correct?
Yes, they are. This is happening, as far as we can tell, because of the alternative modes of transportation that we now have, the shared mobility pilot and things like that.
So fairly shortly after we rolled out the Breeze, we started running that program in the black. Does that mean it's now running in the red?
Yes, at this time it is. It was running in the black for, I would say, 2 or 3 years. As soon as we brought when the scooters came in, we started seeing a decrease in the revenue, and it's become more so this year.
So I just assume that longer term, that's a challenge we're going to have to wrestle with one way or another. Either
yes.
Commit to subsidizing it or do something different.
Yes.
Our manager would like to speak up.
I'm not sure I can add anything to that than to say yes. We are going to be looking at ways of either restructuring or either restructuring the service or restructuring the funding.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Himmerich.
Hi. So I have a question about the salary levels.
Yes.
Does this mean we're adding new positions?
No, it's not a net addition of people or positions. These are just based on, shifting positions. Often it's a salary change. It's just shifting salaries or title changes, just to better reflect what people are doing. We are always trying to stay within the number of people we have already.
So in the olden days, meaning the last time I saw something like this, there was a grid and it showed that something was eliminated and something was added. Am I crazy, or that did exist?
That we do when they are actually budget changes. This is just so that we have the resolutions so that we can have the positions. It's not an actual budget impact.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Marina.
Thank you for putting all this together, answering my myriad of questions. I have them all here, so I won't bore everyone with the details.
Thank you.
But at least one item on attachment A, I see that we lost some money because the batteries were out on the meters, and I understand that the contract with IPS doesn't cover revenue loss. It seems that we're super smart with technology and that we could possibly create some sort of system that alerts us when the batteries go out so we don't lose money. Is something like that possible?
Thank you. Henry Servine, your city traffic engineer. Councilmember Moreno, to that point, our current technology with the existing meters, and they're 8 years old, does not allow us to have them report. What we do have is that we query the systems through wireless once a day, and if they don't report any transactional data, we know something's wrong. Okay. So we manually jump in and check that.
So then, was that daily communication? Did that daily communication result in a loss of 800,000, or was there something else going on that didn't allow us to ping on a daily basis?
That is a complicated answer. We do have breakdowns available by each of our different parking resources. I'd be happy to discuss these at length, but frankly, it's not a direct correlation to the 800,000. There's several different issues that were involved in that number.
And do we have a system, a way to prevent that going forward? Better checks and balances, so to speak?
We've certainly operationally made some changes quickly. So we are working with the manufacturer to look at what we can do to improve the performance of their systems. We do recognize that some of the failures occurred closer to the ocean because of our marine environment and the age of some of the meters. The batteries are prone to failure.
Got it.
And so we are working with them. One of the things is we've stepped up the just-in-time inventory, and staff is now working to replace those meters and bring them back into service.
Makes sense. Cool. Thank you.
Excellent. No other questions from council, so we'll move to the public hearing. We have one request to speak from Denise Barton.
Good evening. I don't understand how you can justify raising the parking rates significantly over the cost of living increase and expect anything but more problems. You continue singing the song that the public aren't using their cars and are using public transportation, equaling 7 parking spaces for every parked car. But if the structures maintain peak occupancy between 11 a.m. and 9 p.m., according to the top of page 9 in the staff report, is that really true? Now let's go to reality for a moment. A recent UCLA Institute of Transportation study states that public transportation use is down due to a dramatic increase in car ownership, contradicting your singing. Metro ridership itself is down by 72%, and between 2000 and 2015, the population of Southern California grew by 2.8 million, with the region adding 2.1 household vehicles during that time period, again contradicting your singing. And if for the workers of the new cost of a monthly parking will equal over 15 hours at $15 an hour, might that push people out of the structures and onto neighborhood streets where we already have a significant problem? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barton. Okay, council, that closes the public hearing and the item is before us. Councilmember Winter.
So yeah, I will move that we approve the changes to the fiscal year 2018-19 revised budget as detailed in attachment A.
Second.
That's a motion by Winter and a second by McEwen. Councilmember McEwen, you're next in the queue.
Oh, he did it before I could.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak to this motion? In that case, I think we're ready for a roll call vote.
Okay. Commissioner Authority Member Morena.
Yes.
Commissioner Authority Member Himmelrich.
Yes.
Commissioner Authority Council Member McKeown. Sorry
Yes.
about that. Commissioner Council Authority Member Winter.
Yes.
Commissioner Authority Council Member Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Council and Authority Member I'm sorry. Have I gone through everybody? No, I know you. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, Chair Pro Tem O'Day.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree. Thank you.
And then also move that we adopt a resolution establishing new classifications and adopting salary rates for various positions as detailed in attachment B.
And I'll also second that.
Okay, motion by Winter and second by McEwen. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Hara.
Yes.
Councilmember Winter.
Yes.
Councilmember McKeown.
Yes.
Councilmember Himmelrich.
Yes.
Councilmember Morena.
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem O'Day.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. We can move on to items 11.
Next we have item 11A, which is the proposed resolution electing to be exempt from the Los Angeles County Congestion Management Program, and you have one request to speak.
Great, we can welcome our staff report.
I'm worried you guys might not make it to KCRW. Good evening, Council. Ooh. I'll just bend over. Colleen Stahl with the Planning and Community Development Department. Tonight, staff is recommending that Council adopt a resolution opting out of the LA County Congestion Management Program. The Congestion Management Program, or CMP, was established in 1990 with the passage of Prop 111 and required that California cities participate in a congestion management program in order to receive new gas tax revenues generated by the proposition. It was a well-intended effort to link transportation funding to land use, air quality, and transportation decisions. In order to show compliance with the CMP, the city would conduct biennial traffic counts at select intersections and calculate level of service. We implemented a TDM ordinance with specific minimum standards, analyzed the impacts of new development on the transportation network through the environmental review process, and reported on local development activity. With time, the effectiveness of the CMP process was called into question, as the minimal requirements to show compliance did not seem to result in substantial congestion reduction. As a result, the state added an opt-out provision, which numerous jurisdictions have taken advantage of. In 2015, Metro temporarily suspended the CMP review process for LA County, and after a thorough review, the Metro Board recommended that the county initiate the opt-out process. If the effort to opt out reaches the required thresholds, jurisdictions in LA County would continue to receive the gas tax allocation tied to the CMP without the annual CMP administrative compliance review. Staff has reviewed the request, and we agree the CMP process has become an outdated tool for managing congestion. As such, staff is suggesting that the council adopt the resolution before you tonight to opt out of the LA County CMP. That concludes my report, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have questions from council? I don't see any.
Okay.
We do have one request to speak from Denise Barton for 1 minute.
Good evening. I have to question your decision to opt out of the Los Angeles County Congestion Management Program. Wondering if this action would be because of what you've been saying, that everyone will stop using their cars and use public transportation, which has not materialized in the way you said it would. The big loose lie. Supporting this would be the recent UCLA Institute of Transportation study, which states that public transportation use is down due to a dramatic increase in car ownership. Metro ridership itself is down 72%, as well as between 2002 and 2015, the population of Southern California grew by 2.8 million people, and the region added 2.1 million household vehicles, showing what you've been saying is untrue. Yet this is probably what you've been using to decrease the pollution remediation by over $20 million and can be found on page 2 of the audit report in item 3D. Or is that you don't want anyone to see how bad the pollution really is here, with the daily black soot hovering downtown? You say you care about the environment, but this action doesn't show it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That closes our public hearing. Councilmember McEwen.
It's important to note that we're being asked by Metro to join other communities in the county in abandoning an outmoded program that used the wrong traffic metric. It used level of service at intersections instead of vehicle miles traveled. So this is absolutely the right thing, and I move the staff recommendation.
That's a motion by McEwen and second by Himmelrich. Anyone care to speak to the motion?
I just want to make one comment.
Councilmember Moreno.
I spent a number of
That'll happen.
Hours understanding the traffic study and the TDM that we're doing. Have had ad nauseum discussions about it, and what I found in all of it is that our metrics, our planning, our goals far surpassed what Metro had put out there. So I want to commend the staff for doing that and figuring out all of the detailed metrics. It's not easy work. A very dedicated group of people who are very passionate about something that everybody doesn't see, but we all benefit from. So thank you.
Super. With that, could we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Hara?
Yes.
Councilmember Winter?
Yes.
Councilmember McKeown?
Yes.
Councilmember Hemmerich?
Yes.
Councilmember Moreno?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem O'Day.
Yes. That motion carries unanimously.
So next we have item 13E, and it's request of Mayor Davis and council members Hara and Winter that the City Council allocate $7,000 of discretionary funds to the John Muir PTA to enable low-income fifth graders to attend a 3-day science camp in accordance with the city's strategic priority of an engaged and thriving community. John Muir Elementary is a Title I school, and the PTA is a 501c3. And you have one request to speak.
But I have a question, if I could, Mayor Pro Tem, before we go forward. I just realized that this apparently is giving the money to the, it says the school is a Title I school and the PTA is a 501c3. Just to clarify, so that I may remain on the dais, this money is going to the PTA, not the school.
Well, that's my understanding. The head of the PTA, Miss Mendoza Johnson, is here, and I'm looking at her to, maybe she wants to come up and clarify for us.
My employment with the school district has ended, but it was less than a year ago that it ended, so I would still have to recuse myself if this money were going to my former employer. Is this going to the school district or going to the PTA?
It's going to the PTA.
Thank you.
Okay. In that case, council members, would you care to introduce this item?
Since the mayor is out of town, I'll let Councilmember Hara add what she'd like to, but received this request for this funding. It's certainly part of our Learn and Thrive strategic priority. It's my understanding in conversations from Ms. Mendoza Johnson is this is a fairly unusual year for them for a number of circumstances, one of which is they had to change the location of the science camp to a place that was farther away and required warmer clothes. So greater costs on the PTA for the transportation and on the family members to provide the appropriate clothing for the colder climate, so that they need this extra money. They anticipate next year that they will be more ahead of the curve on the fundraising, and we had a dialogue about if they see the situation coming next fall, we'll sort of endeavor to create some matching funds rather than creating this money outright, although they did obtain a $5,000 grant towards this trip. So I very much would like for us to allocate this money to enable those fifth graders to go learn about science, because it's critically important to the youth of our country.
Would you like to add something, Councilmember Hara?
Yes. Yes, I would. And if we're going down to our core values of equity, I definitely, that's one of the reasons why I'm also one of the endorsers for this petition. Just for a little history, I just thought that all of you would like to know that John Muir School, when it used to be located at the Olympic High School site, was my very first school when I arrived here in the United States in March of 1968. So I am very proud to be a part of this. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, try and top that, council members.
Would one of you like to make a motion?
We do have a request to speak, and that is from Sylvia Mendoza Johnson. Would you like to come to the podium for 2 minutes?
Yes, good evening. Thank you. I appreciate you hearing our request. And just to let you know, just to add to it, we did work out with Jans, who goes every year to Yosemite for a week, and they just to add to it that they've granted us the use of the clothes for some of our children to basically, provide. The weather will probably be harsh and colder than what they normally would. So I just wanted to add that, and that we're following through and making sure that all these kids are well fitted for this trip.
Very good. Thank you. That closes the public hearing, and we could have a motion.
I'd like to move the request that we grant John Muir PTA $7,000 of discretionary funding.
Second. Motion by Hara, second by Morena.
And I'll just clarify that to enable the low-income fifth graders to attend the 3-day science camp.
Very good. That's our motion. Could we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Morena?
Yes.
Councilmember Himmelrich?
Yes.
Councilmember McKeown?
Yes.
Councilmember Winter?
Yes. Councilmember
Hara?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem O'Day.
Yes. And that motion carries unanimously.
So next we have the 14, it's public input. Public comment is permitted only on items not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. State law prohibits the city council from taking any action on items not listed on the agenda, including issues raised under this agenda item, and you have 3 requests to speak. Well, actually 2.
Our first speaker
Well,
will...
I'm sorry, let me stop this.
Okay.
It's only 2 because Mr. Johnson, there is no time donation on 14 items.
Ah, very good. So our first speaker will be Denise Barton, and our second is Tom Johnson.
Good evening. Tonight, let's look at how you demand civility but have a hard time showing it. First, let's look at clapping. Clapping is only allowed for you and your affiliates. If people in the chamber clap for anything besides that, they are reprimanded by you and told to wave their hands. Do you think that this might appear as though you think you are better than we are? Next, after item 14, public input, aren't you not supposed to give instruction? If so, why was Kevin McEwen allowed to be so long-winded, giving instruction and insulting me as a disabled person at the last City Council meeting, January 22nd? Then be rude enough to say to me, we don't want to hear from you. Or what about the January 8th City Council meeting when Gleam Davis repetitively spoke over me on my item 4 presentation, telling me I wasn't on subject, trying to dictate my presentation format to the point of threatening to turn the microphone off? Now, why would you be treating me differently? I'm just a resident trying to participate in the city's meetings. Honestly, I feel as though I'm being targeted by you at city council meetings and through the housing authority. So you sit up there and demand civility, yet these are examples of the civility you show. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson? I hope you understand the rules that we operate under for the items, the 14 items, so that there wouldn't be a donation of time. Do you understand
Correct.
that? Okay, so you have 2 minutes. Thank you.
I'm here to represent a group, for no better way to call ourselves, but grateful San Michelle residents. Over the last year, in which I've been a resident there for about a year, so have several of my co-residents here. We've seen some of the stories in the paper. We are aware of a couple of disgruntled individuals that have come before the City Council a number of times and made some pretty outrageous claims. We're here to set the record straight. First of all, I've provided a document where I think 47 of the residents have signed expressing their gratitude and exclaiming that the things that you have heard that have been said publicly, we believe are completely without foundation. And the San Michelle facility and the people concerned do an absolutely outstanding job. We have a clean, safe place to sleep, ample food 4 times a day, and snacks available. I'd heard some claims about people not having food. That's absolutely not the case. The staff there has been extremely supportive to all of us listed on that document. You know, they start right away with dealing with the issues that made people homeless in the first place. And there's continued support and encouragement to get past those issues. And then ultimately providing permanent housing. All along the way, I've had nothing but positive support. All 47 of us feel the same way. Sarah and Christina, the management of the facility, it's an open door policy. If there is an issue, am I out of time?
Thank you.
It's an open.
That's the 2 minutes. Thank you very much. But please finish your sentence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, I can continue?
You can finish your sentence if you were stopped in kind of mid-sentence
Okay.
there. Did you just want to wrap it up for us?
The staff there is extremely supportive. It's a clean, safe facility. We can't thank them enough. We want to thank the City Council and the Mayor for their support of the facility. Let you know that our only complaint is those people that are complaining about it. Hit the road.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We know that people are 7 to 10 times more likely to complain if they're or to make comments when they're unhappy. So it's nice to hear the other side. Council, that is the end of the 14 items. I'd like to ask if anyone has an adjournment or an announcement. Councilmember Himmelrich.
I have an announcement because people have been calling the council office and asking. I'm doing my next office hours at Virginia Avenue Park from 10 to noon on February 23rd. Everybody's welcome to come, including the other members of the City Council.
Terrific. Well, Council, if you might, do you want to have something, Councilmember Moreno? Go ahead.
I see my friend Chris here. Chris and I played football with a gentleman named LeVar Harper. LeVar lost his life soon after high school, so I'd like to adjourn the meeting in his name. 1997.
Okay, and I'd like to add one myself, and if the council would indulge me a moment, this person doesn't have a particular connection to Santa Monica except for me, as this was my high school English teacher passed away this past week, Michael Ditchkovsky. And so many of us struggle with understanding the impact we have on others and on the world, and Michael did in particular, and I'm fortunate that we reconnected by Facebook 2 years ago. Chalk went up to social media, if you're counting. And I was able to tell him about the influence that he had on my life. And he was a teacher who, in 1991, reached me when I had to give a speech at our graduation. I wanted to quote Cat Stevens in my speech, "Oh, very young," and the administration wouldn't let me because of his anti-Catholic views at this Catholic school. And boy, that's something that would rile up a 17-year-old boy. My English professor sat me down and we worked on a speech that was much more authentic and expressive. And he did something that, I think he wrote the recommendation that was dispositive for getting me into college. I had never been further west than Ohio until the first day of college. So this is a person who reached me, and so many teachers, wonder what happened to their students later. And I can tell you that, I'm here in large part because of his efforts as a teacher and reaching me in high school. So Michael Ditchkovsky, may you rest in peace. Thank you. And thanks all for coming to our meeting tonight.